Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Everyone thank Mama Ambyes, or rather Amby's mama, because she sat with me and we were talking about the trailers and I kind of got her to watch them for the first time and she just thought they were so fun and interesting and it really got me back in the mood to break down the trailers. So let's get into it, and if you want to leave a comment, just make sure that you leave the timestamp so I know what we're talking about. Alright, let's do this.
That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry,
We're still in the same area that we were before. This appears to be the same place that they took her out of the cocoon, which maybe helps us understand why we couldn't see very well. It is a very small room. And then one of the clips you can actually see the scan behind her, but I'm kind of interested in the weird patterning of her dress and the fact that we can actually see the elbow patch. That's something that wasn't there whenever she was being taken care of in the medical wing, and is there now. So perhaps that gives us a better idea of where this goes in the timeline. I really thought that Tomorrow saving Fragile and Sam in that tar pit came before this, and that was when she cocooned herself. But I'm starting to think that I'm very wrong about that, and that is after this part, mostly because of the bandage on the arm. Now, looking at Sam here, there's nothing really to glean from this. There's no new information, and we can't see the letter on the outside of the hallway. The only thing that I can say here is that there is a behind the scenes clip where he can be heard speaking. And they basically, it's kind of a couple seconds before this. He doesn't really say anything, just like, what's happening? We can see Tomorrow's strings here, and there are a lot more than when we saw her in the cocoon. When we saw her cocoon, there were none. And I thought that was very strange. It's one of the few times that we don't see any strings on Tomorrow. Now, in this clip, I think it's really interesting that I've been basically saying her outfit is the same even when she's wearing that drawbridge jacket. And I think we can tell this here because you can actually see the score under her dress. And of course, that helps us understand that the timeline can be easily confused just because we can't tell it apart by what she's wearing. Other than the things on her arms, that's really the biggest difference that we've seen. And of course, most of the times, Tomorrow's outfit is kind of zipped up. There is one part where she grins at the camera, and I need to go check and see what she's wearing in that and if we can see any sort of shirt. Now, in this part, I'm really mystified by the lower left and the fact that it still looks like a cocoon on that one. So maybe that imagery doesn't matter if they are actually encased in something or not, or maybe that's an old photo image, but it seems weird that it would still be on there. I'm not really sure what to make of that. This made me so proud because this is the first time, I mean, if we don't count like the kissing scene, that Sam is reaching out and trying to, touch someone, connect, be helpful. He's obviously done that with Lou, someone that he knows deeply, and also Fragile, which again, he knows deeply. If Tomorrow is not Lou, or he does not know that it is Lou, then this is a huge step for him. Not only is he getting in there and actually touching someone, he's getting in there with Tarman and Fragile. He's shoulder to shoulder with them. He's not flinching. He's not moving away. And that is awesome character development that shows us that he really has grown from the first game. I find it really interesting the way that they move in tandem. That was something I kind of noticed in the clip. They really work as a team, and that's not surprising, but it is really nice to see, especially Fragile and Sam. They really move in unison. And as someone who really appreciated the slow burn of their romance in Death Stranding 1, the fact that she's literally a biker girl, and we know that Norman Reedus is supposed to be the biker dude. I mean, her dad is literally the leather biker guy. That's exactly what inspired her character and her outfit, so I always thought that they would probably end up together. And I think it's really fun, even if they don't stay together, that we're gonna have this little situationship going on. And I think Fragile's awesome, so good for her and good for Sam. I'm really glad that he's hopefully found someone that is being good to him, and we're not gonna find out any terrible news about Fragile being like a double crosser. I just can't believe that. I just don't think she would. I'd also like for you to watch this gloved hand in particular. This is the one where he's wearing an attachment that he like slides on basically. And I noticed that the individual fingers move. And if I'm not mistaken, he uses his right hand to drive the Magellan. So this is his amputated hand. But if you watch carefully, his individual fingers move to grab this piece of equipment. So that's really neat. I'd love to know more about Tarman's prosthetics and how they work because, as far as I can tell, they are not like connecting in any way robotically to him. So I almost think it's going to be something like how he communicates with the ship. He must have some way of sending signals through his hand into these little machines that he works. He even works a saw just by kind of looking at his hand and then it turns on. The other thing I want to mention is the fact that she's floating. That to me seems very normal considering the fact that she had all of that chiral matter in her, and we've seen that it basically rises towards the sky. So I'm thinking this is less a power of hers and more like a side effect. Which is odd to think about because if she was outside, would she just float into the sky? I don't know.
Are amino acids in tar, as in proteins?
This area looks like that very first area where we see the first prepper distro in the trailer. And in the close ups, we can kind of tell that there's definitely a distro there. It may not end up being that exact one I'm thinking of, but that was the one that had the ocean kind of behind it. So it seems like the best or most viable option from what we've seen so far. I really like this new little gizmo that we've got, and it almost seems like maybe it could go on land, but it's kind of unclear what's going on with those little wheel flippers. So today, when I was introducing my mom to Death Stranding, because she was curious about this thing that I just really enjoyed so much and was having so much fun reading about, and upon watching the trailers with her for Death Stranding 1 so that she could kind of get an idea of this crazy world, I realized they literally showed us the ending of the game in that trailer. They showed us Amelie's beach exploding. And it makes me rethink some of the trailer parts now. Like, what we could be seeing could be the ending. We could already know what the end of the game is and not even realize. What made me think of that is the fact that we can see this Magellan like man, and it appears to be on our side. We have no idea where it came from, why we have it, or when we get it. Is it early game, mid game, post game? We really don't know. And we don't know why it's helping us. Is it sentient? Are we controlling it? Is it something that can kind of be shared, where it has its own agenda, but we're also in control of it as well? What I'm calling the evil Magellan Man has a very visible umbilical cord, much like the Titan BT in the first game, which I don't understand if I should be calling it Titan or if I should be calling it Magellan. I assume I should only call the evil ones Titan BTs because I assume the reason why ours is called Magellan Man is because we put the Magellan on its head. Um, but I do wonder, are we calling it Magellan Man because it used to be a man? Does it have a connection to humans? That does freak me out a little bit, thinking about what that could mean for the other creatures that we see in the game. Are they other humans that we are killing? Are they just chiral creatures? We really don't know. Something that we can see, though, is that there are buildings in front of Sam, and there's also a red patch on this Titan BT, and it doesn't appear to be from us. So I wonder, is it trying to heal itself, or is that from an injury? The reason I think it might be healing itself is we've seen those weird head monsters suck in tar and appear to be doing something with it, so it could be the same through its umbilical cord. I really don't think it's from something that Sam has done unless he threw a bomb previously, because we actually see when the gun goes off that it just kind of makes like small explosions on this Titan BT. It doesn't necessarily do anything too intense. The frustrating part about this clip is the fact that it is so foggy. So, anytime that you turn up the exposure or turn down the highlights, try to turn up shadows, it just kind of grays out. But I wanted to point out the sheen on Magellan Man's back. It kind of reminds me of some of the things we've seen on chiral creatures before, and a little bit of like the skulls, like the void out skull merch where you see like the lion BT's skull on the back. But I think it's just a shine. Whenever our Magellan Man touches this Titan BT, it literally looks like it's set on fire, and it got me thinking, could this be something created or drawn to Sam's blood? The only reason I thought of that was we know that Sam's blood was one of the only things that injured BTs, so maybe this has something to do with Sam and his blood still. I don't know how you would get a giant Magellan Man, but if we find out that Lou is his child, or if he finds his unborn child in this game, perhaps that's how this Magellan Man is being kind of morphed into itself. Maybe somehow his blood is linked into it. We do know from a couple like really weird photos that the Magellan Man appears to have a heart. It's got like this red, just kind of gross looking thing on the front of it. That looks a lot like where Amelie was stuck in the first game, and I think it's going to be like a Titan heart. Initially, my guess for that was I thought Higgs's coffin would be inside that, but once we saw him kind of with all of the sparks and the guitar, I figure he's actually somewhere on the ship with them fighting. In the final little frame that we have, we can see after Magellan Man has punched this Titan BT that Sam is also shooting it. That's kind of where that last red mark on its chest is from. I did think it was kind of fun because our Magellan Man doesn't have a hand for a face or for a mouth, whatever you want to say. And I always think it's kind of neat how the Titan BT does have that. I think it's a really, really neat aesthetic choice, and when it gets knocked out, all its fingers go up, which is kind of funny.
Acids in tar, as in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
We get this sort of really suspect clip that is supposed to make us think that Tomorrow is like listening in on their conversation, but I don't think she's trying to be sneaky. I think she just walked in after maybe waking up or just kind of, wandering the ship. I feel like that's something that I think anyone would do. And then we get kind of a look at what I assume is where the captain would normally sit, or like, I never know what to call Tarman, but basically he's the guy running the ship. He's the one piloting it. And I think this is his little area, kind of where we saw Fragile at first. And it looks like he's actually just turned his chair around. One of the things that I noticed is this is one of the very few times that we see this black and yellow jacket that Sam has. We see it once, I think, when he's kissing Fragile, and here, this is the only time we see this specific jacket. And there's a point where we see like a gray jacket that I think it's Tomorrow is wearing. And I'm kind of wondering if it's this jacket and just a weird lighting. Now, I think we have Tomorrow. I think Dollman will be in that chair that Sam is touching. Then I think we have Rainy. Tarman's boots can be seen between Sam's legs. We have Sam, and it looks like Fragile is sitting in her regular captain's chair. I can't see anyone else in any of the frames, so I do think it's just kind of the initial group. This could very well be Rainy kind of entering into the group and them talking to her, but I actually think that Rainy enters the group first and that Tomorrow will come after. This specific expression is why I don't think that they're saying what the line was that's actually here, which is, I went to her home and it was a hellhole. I don't think that's in reference to tomorrow. I really think that this is referencing Amelie or someone else. The reason I don't think it's referencing tomorrow is she looks like she's figured something out, or she's got a piece of a puzzle that she was missing. And I actually think that this might be a moment where she actually goes and tries to connect with Higgs, and that might be the reason he's around in the first place. They may be withholding information from her, which makes me think maybe the fragile line of, "We never meant to string you along." I know that it sounds like she starts out by saying Sam, but I don't trust Hidea, so I kind of wonder if she might say this to Tomorrow, and that would make sense because if they're not wanting Tomorrow to know that they know someone who has the same powers, or did, because Death Stranding 1 Higgs did have control of those powers, even though they were given to him by Amelie, and Tomorrow may feel like she needs to learn how to control her powers, and so she may seek him out without their permission. I did as much as I could with the map. It's still really blurred out and difficult to see, but it just kind of appears the same way as always. We kind of see the Tur currents. Oh my gosh, the tar currents, and we can see this red orb. And I don't really know what that could be. I feel like that's important, and that when we play the game, that's going to make so much sense. But at this moment, all I know is that that blue sort of outline circle was showing us where we were going at one point. So I'm not totally sure what that red part could mean. I assume that they're talking to Dollman because they're kind of looking down, but they could also be talking to Charlie. The AI might be around at this point, but it doesn't appear that anyone is sitting in that actual chair, so it would probably have to be Dollman. Otherwise, I think we would see legs or feet sticking out of this chair. Um, but I just assume that this is kind of the crew having a conversation. Now, she does look sad in this screen cap, and I think she's just kind of frustrated. I really do think this is probably where she goes out and tries to fix something herself, and we end up trying to save her, get her back, tell her this is not the way. She does have her strings, and they're very prominent here. One of the things that I noticed is this is one of the main places that we see her strings, so it'll be interesting to know if those are influenced by emotions, or if it's mood aligned, or if it's simply because she's just recently come out of that cocoon, and so she still has a lot of the strings on her from the world of the dead. Now, this would be a really awesome parallel to Sam, who spent most of the game trying to reconnect to the world of the living, and it would be kind of neat to see the strings falling off of Tomorrow throughout the game as she connects to the world of the living.